Lebron James, Urban Meyer, the NFL Hall of Fame, and some other stuff. This is the KJ from OC podcast. Welcome back to the KJ from OC podcast. I'm your host, KJ from OC. And yes, I keep having issues with doing these on a weekly basis, but you know what? I have a different plan now, so I'm working it out. I'm working it out. Get off my back. I'm working it out. So welcome back to you and all of yours who are listening to the show here on YouTube, or someone downloaded it and put it somewhere else. I'm not really sure. I don't really care, but you know what? You're listening, and I'm glad you're listening. And welcome back. I've missed you. How are you? No, really. How are you? I can't hear you, so we're just going to keep moving on. You can find me on Twitter at KJ from OC, on Facebook, KJ from OC Podcast, and also on Instagram, KJ from OC, and probably also where? On your mama's couch, in your mama's house, in your mama's mouth. No, I'm kidding. That's disgusting. This week, we are going to discuss LeBron James opening up a school and everything about that. Donald Trump. We're also going to discuss Urban Meyer and whether or not maybe he should be fired. Oh, that rhymed. Didn't even mean to do that, but sometimes it just bees that way. And also the Hall of Fame game, the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, and some other stuff too that I can't remember off the top of my head, but once I open up my notes, we're going to take a crack at it. Crack's a bad drug. Anyway, you guys ready? You guys ready for this? Because LeBron James is a Laker, so you should really be ready for this. First topic. LeBron James has opened up a school. That's pretty awesome, I gotta say. I've never opened up a school myself. I barely opened up soda cans. So for a dude who didn't have a business degree from Harvard, Yale, Cornell, Ohio State, anywhere. Oh, Ohio State, you're so bad right now. For a dude who didn't have a degree in this kind of stuff, that's pretty remarkable. 33 years old, basketball player, entrepreneur. He has his own businesses as well. I know the primary thing obviously is basketball, but it's not always about where you went to school and what education you got at what school and all those kind of things. It ain't what you know, it's who you know. And if you can get around the right people, you can learn anything. You know, you can sit here and learn, from someone who went to a Harvard or a Yale or some kind of business school or whatever, and you can get around them and learn from them and what they learned, but you're learning it for free. Or it's not going to take you 4 years or however many years it is for business school, maybe 2, whatever it is. It's not going to take you as long, because now you get to kind of put your feet in the fire and learn how to do these things as they're happening. So LeBron James, a high school graduate from Akron, Ohio, who went to the NBA at 18 years old, as a number of other players have done in the past, opens up a school called I Promise. And they have a pledge. I'm not exactly sure what the pledge is, but I love that this guy did this, because what it does is it allows him to give to people, to give to kids, things that he didn't have growing up. You know, whether it's lunch, a bus ride, school clothes, things like that. These are things that he's now going to be able to provide. Actually, I'm not really sure about the clothing thing, but still, these are things that he's going to be able to provide now for these kids. And I'm sure at some point, there's taxpayer dollars paying for school. But, I mean, this is reaching out to kids who are, I think, underachieving at whatever public school or private school maybe that they go to. Now they're going to go to a different school, and they're going to get some other things that they need, and maybe more one-on-one or closer to one-on-one attention, because that teacher-to-student ratio or student-to-teacher ratio, whatever, is important. I think it's really interesting how when I was growing up, there was, 25 students at least to one teacher? Yeah, a lot of us didn't get a lot of attention, and maybe we needed it. I remember there was one kid who used to grab his nuts and jump around the classroom in second or third grade. Pretty Pretty crazy, but yeah. He needed some attention for real. So a smaller teacher, or student to teacher ratio will definitely help kids get the help that they need. Obviously, that kid I was talking about had a behavior issue, but it also could be an attention issue. Like, hey, I need attention. Maybe I'm not getting attention at home or whatever. So a different ratio is great. But also, you know what's great about LeBron James's I Promise School? Let's check out some of the stuff. Free tuition, free uniforms, free bicycle and helmet, because if you're, at least in California, if you're under the age of 18, you have to have a bicycle helmet to ride your bike. Free transportation within 2 miles. Free breakfast, lunch, and snacks. Food pantry for families. GED opportunities and job placement services for parents. Guaranteed tuition to the University of Akron for every student who graduates. Are you kidding me? That is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. That guy deserves a Nobel Prize in some kind of form or fashion just for doing that. That is absolutely amazing. I'd like to clap for LeBron, but I have too many things in my hands. That sounds bad the way I phrased that. But clap for him. LeBron, that's an awesome job. I wish more of us were able to give, or at least have the ideas to give. I had a buddy of mine, and I don't want to sit here and try to pat myself on the back, but it is something that I thought about some years back. I live in Orange County, and sometimes the cities I live in and the areas I live in have a lot of homeless people around. And I don't see as many as I used to, which might be a good thing, meaning maybe they got jobs and they got homes or something like that. I know some homeless people actually do have jobs, but the other thing is too, when I saw them, certain people you can really tell, like, dude, this guy has been on the streets for almost decades, maybe. Hair matted up, clothes dirty, they smell, no shoes, all kinds of stuff. Maybe pushing all their stuff in a shopping cart or something like that. And so what I started doing, sometimes I would give out, money, but a gal I met in Huntington Beach some years back said, when you see homeless people, don't just give them money because you never know how they're going to spend it, which is true. Maybe buy them food, because at least that serves the purpose of doing what you want to do, which is helping someone. And then it keeps anyone who might have a drug issue, because you don't know. Anyone can have any kind of drug or alcohol issue, especially when you're trying to mask pain from being homeless. And so instead of giving them money, just buy them food, and that can reach what they need and also what you wanted to do. And so I think that's a beautiful thing. So I started carrying around water in my trunk, and my buddy pointed that out to me a while back. We were just talking about stuff. He's like, yeah, you're like the only person I know who carries around water for homeless people, or people who are just kind of, there's a couple times I've been driving somewhere, and not even in like a downtrodden area. It could have been Mission Viejo or Los Alamitos, for those who aren't from here, and see somebody out, holding signs and stuff like that, the sign flippers in front of stores and things like that. Like, it can be hot. I think today was like 91, which isn't, Inland Empire hot, but it's hot nonetheless, right? So I would pass out water to people because everyone gets thirsty. And if it's already cool, man, I used to give water to the damn gardener. He's a grown man who has a job, and, but it's still hot nonetheless, right? So I'd hook the brother up. I put some water maybe in the fridge the night before, or in the freezer a couple hours before he's going to start on Fridays, and I'd give it to him when he get here. Be like, here you go. Just because it's nice to help people out, You never know who needs help and who needs what. You never know anyone's situation. So if you have a little extra, even if you don't have a lot, if you have a little extra and you can give it, then give it. And LeBron James, he's wealthy to me, right? I don't make a lot of money, so he's wealthy to me. He's rich, right? And he's not, a multi-billionaire Jeff Bezos who has like over 100 million or something like that. He's not that, but he still opened up a school for these kids, and that costs money. And it's just a really wonderful thing that he did. I know it sounds like I'm, what do they call him? There's a way to say what I'm trying to say without being dirty. Slurping him. But that's not the intent. The intent is really just to give the guy kind of a high five for for what he did. And some people are really having issues. I think even Bill O'Reilly tweeted the other day, like, LeBron, if you really want to help people, you need to go to Chicago and give your money over there. And someone tweeted under or replied to Bill O'Reilly's tweet and said, Bill, if you really want to help Chicago, maybe what you should do is not have harassed women and had to pay out $38 million in your harassment lawsuits and stuff like that, which is the easy burn. That was like, well, that's what you get, because you're over here talking shit to someone, in a sense, like, hey, you're not doing enough, or you didn't do it in the right area. Like, at least he did something. What have you done? You know? It becomes that kind of like that Bible verse of, before you try to point out the splinter in your brother's eye, look at the log in your own. Like, yeah, Bill, what have you done before you sit here and criticize someone? So, Laura Ingraham, who told LeBron to shut up and dribble, good job, because now he's opened up a school, and now he has a documentary, I believe, or a TV show called Shut Up and Dribble in the works, and he has some other stuff too. So I love what this guy is doing, and I don't love the haters, but there's always going to be haters no matter where you go, what you do. It is what it is. And Don Lemon from CNN interviewed LeBron the other day. He was on TV basically like every day last week after that school opened up, because I think the school is in session right now. I think they started this week. And the question came up about what would LeBron say if he was sitting across from Donald Trump. I don't know how they got into politics. I didn't watch the interview. I just saw a clip. And since LeBron didn't have an answer other than, I wouldn't sit across from Donald Trump. And I get it. I'm obviously not a Trump fan. If you've listened to the show before, you should know that by now. Not a Trump fan of him personally or politically. And so in response to that, instead of just ignoring it and being an adult and just saying, hey, you know what, people have their ideas and it is what it is, Donald J. Trump, the J for jerk, tweets, LeBron James was just interviewed by the dumbest man on television, Don Lemon. He made LeBron look smart, which isn't easy to do. I like Mike. Mike meaning Michael Jordan. Wow. That is the pettiest... And this is not some other quote-unquote celebrity, basketball player, anything. This is the President of the United States hating on someone on Twitter, as he constantly does, because this is just what this freaking guy does. And the funny thing is, you can go back and look at tweets from 2015, 2013, May 11th, 2015, great shot by @King James yesterday. LeBron is a tough competitor who delivers under pressure. That's a very nice thing to say. July 18th, 2013, congratulations to @King James on winning Athlete of the Year in last night's @ESPYs. LeBron is also a great guy. Now, granted, that has nothing to do with intelligence, but it is interesting how Trump will respond when someone does not like him. He will then respond with some kind of negative comment about that person and how they're stupid or they're this or they're that. And not that he doesn't attack white folks, because he does, obviously, right, the whole Hillary thing, and I don't think he attacked her because she was white, obviously, because he is white himself. But it's very interesting just how this guy responds to stuff. Something so great. Instead of just saying, I didn't like his comments about me, but I love what he did. Like, you could easily just say, hey, I didn't like his comments about me, but I love that he did this for the city of Akron and for all the kids. And honestly, I'd be like, hey, you know what? That's a good response. That's a mature response. But we don't have a mature president. So we have what we have, and we have to accept that, unfortunately. I know people say, he's not my president, and I get it, because he doesn't represent who you are as a person, and I respect that, because he doesn't represent me either as a person or as an American citizen or as a human, really, for that matter. Matter of fact, I don't even think the guy is human. But anyway, I digress. But I really hated that he had that response. And Michael Jordan had a response as well. It wasn't the most praiseworthy tweet, not that I expected it to be. I think Michael Jordan tends to stay away from a lot of things, so he doesn't want to piss people off. He wants to kind of, toe the company line, so to speak, kind of dance, sit on the fence, He wants to make his money, which you are entitled to make however much money you want to make. But sometimes when you're trying to appease the public for whatever reason, whether because you're looking for their approval or because you want their money, your values end up being exposed. No matter what you say your values are exposed to me by your actions and by your words, privately and publicly. So Michael Jordan's response was a tweet, or maybe just a quote. Yeah, I think it was just a quote. "I support LJ. He's doing an amazing job for his community." That's it. That you're not going to say anything about, in response to Donald Trump's thing, like LJ is not stupid. Obviously, you can't be a stupid man and play the game of basketball the way LeBron plays it and make, the kind of business moves this man makes. Like nothing. It was just, God. I understand Michael Jordan was an amazing basketball player. I mean, no one can argue that. And if you do try to argue Michael Jordan's greatness, I'd be surprised. I'd be like, really? Okay. But that response is just so quick and just like, whatever. Here you go. And it may have been him who put it out. It may have been a publicist. I'm not sure. But either way, it seemed pretty weak. Pretty weak. That's like T-boning somebody with your car. Or no. Witnessing someone get T-boned in their car in a car accident and be like, "Hey, are you okay? I saw you were breathing, so I left." Really? You didn't do anything other than that? You just, alrighty then, thanks. You did nothing. "Well, I just saw you were breathing, that helped." Didn't help at all. You could have done more. You could have done more. You didn't have to, but you could have, because that's your position in a sense, not just as a former NBA player and an NBA team owner, but also as another brother and as a human being. I think we are all a little more responsible for each other than people actually portray. I think we are responsible for each other a little bit more than how people kind of put it out there. And if you see someone getting bullied or picked on or whatever, I think we should stick up for that person getting picked on or bullied. It's one thing if the person kind of, I don't want to say I'll say quote unquote deserves it, like if they're being a jerk to someone and then people are a jerk back to them, well, then you kind of brought that on yourself. But if you didn't bring anything onto yourself, you're just like, look, I opened up a school, people want to interview me about it, and they asked me a question about this dude, and I gave my answer about the dude, and then the dude responds and seems to hate on you, and I think he's hated on him in other tweets or things he said. At least Fox News does anyway. Shut up and dribble. I think even people who aren't involved could be involved, because it is that like, hey, leave this person alone. They're doing a good thing. You ain't doing nothing. So what's your problem with this person? And really, it seems like anytime anyone has a problem with Donald Trump, Fox News is going to come out and have something negative to say about that person. No matter what they've done in their life, no matter what great they've done. What was it John McCain? Yeah, John McCain ran for president 8 years ago and lost. But he doesn't support Donald Trump. And so Trump's response to that was, I don't like POWs. I don't like guys who get caught. Are you kidding me? If I was a Marine, if I was an Army Ranger, if I was anyone in the military, F this guy. You just shit on every missing in action person, every prisoner of war. Like, are you kidding me? You just shit on everyone. I like guys who don't get caught. What? Wow, you have some balls, brass ones, but you're also a jerk. And for people who still support this guy, it really surprises me, because it shows me what their personal character is and what they're willing to excuse politically, personally, whatever. It's just interesting. I know we all should forgive, and I get that. But other than that, it's just like, this is who represents you now, because you keep making excuses for them. Would you make excuses for the next person? I mean, because you don't know Donald Trump personally, so why are you going to make excuses for him? Would you make excuses for me, or the next guy, or the next gal? And if not, then it's like, why is this feeding you so much to the point where you have to support everything he does, or not critique it, or critiques, He's not God. He's not God, even though he thinks he is. But I digress once again, but it is kind of on topic because LeBron James did a great thing, and he said, I believe, just one thing about Donald Trump, and it was just that he wouldn't sit across from him. He didn't say he's the stupidest person. He did say that he believes that Donald Trump is dividing the country. I would say Trump is capitalizing on the division of the country. The division of the country has always been there. It's just been more polarized, in my opinion, since Trayvon. Obviously there are sparks that come here and there. Ferguson happened. That was 2015, I believe it was, or 2014. Trayvon was 2012, I believe. Tamir Rice, 2014, or he was 14 years old, I forget. Obviously, the LA uprising in 92. So there's all these different things that will pop up and will happen, and will have an issue, with the division in the country between blacks and whites and poor and rich and all this kind of stuff. And I think what Trump is doing is capitalizing on that division by playing to a group of people, whether he believes it or not, I don't know, and I don't really care, but the fact that you are definitely feeding that is scary, because you're the president of the effing United States, and this is your stance, and you are a little Twitter bitch all the time. It makes me sick. I'm really disappointed in the way that he responds, and I wish he would stop attacking people, especially people of prominent positions. It's it's the old saying of respect people's opinions, but yet, you might have that personal philosophy, but then on the flip side, the president that you love and support, who does not respect other people's opinions about him or about what he's doing, is just so hypocritical, and it really bothers me. But I'm learning to live with it as much as I can, but I definitely am open about speaking against it. Unfortunately, that also means attention's taken away from what LeBron is doing. But I will say this in response to that: at least these kids are getting taught and being attended to in the meantime. No matter how mad we are at Trump and what he's doing and what he's done, what he said and what he will say, and what he's saying, these kids are still being tended to, and I think that's an amazing thing that LeBron James has done. And I would not be surprised after LeBron James is retired that he eventually maybe gets into politics or some kind of social activism on a more active level, maybe on a Sean King level, not necessarily becoming a reporter or a journalist, but I think you're going to see a lot more of him, which scares me, because we all know prominent black leaders and prominent black figures who are pro-black, unless they're Jesse or Al Sharpton, will end up dead at some point, and that's scary. But sometimes it's okay to be a martyr for the cause when the cause is justice for all people, especially people who have systematically been oppressed by a country that says that they don't oppress people. But hey, what the hell do I know? Next topic. Urban Meyer. All right. I'm only going to cover what I know and what I remember. So, Zach Smith, not Devin Smith, the wide receiver, former wide receiver of Ohio State, but Zach Smith, the wide receivers coach or offensive coordinator or some shit. He was recently fired from Ohio State University's football team. I don't remember why they said he was fired, but there were incidents that were reported to Ohio State and to Urban Meyer about Zach Smith physically abusing his wife. And further investigation reveals that there were police reports, police calls at least, to the local authorities, and also that Zach Smith's wife, I'm not sure if I want to call her Cindy, but I'm not 100% sure, that she had communicated with Urban Meyer's wife about the physical abuse. And she didn't want to, or she was advised by Urban Meyer's wife, which is not illegal because she does not work for the university or anything like that, but she was advised, don't, call the cops, or don't do this, don't do that, because if you do, he, meaning Zach, may not be able to get a job again. And since they have, I think, at least 2 kids, that would obviously be hurting on the ability of the kids to eat. I'm sure, considering, he worked for Ohio State, I'm sure there's some money somewhere, so I'm sure the kids would eat. But still, it's one of those things, like, you still want that person to be able to work. Hopefully you still want that person to be able to work, so that way they can feed the kids that you guys had together. No matter how much you hate that person, and in a case like this, rightfully so, if these allegations are true, which, after so many calls to the police, you kind of know, like, okay, something's going on, obviously, right? Whether it's in the person's head, which I doubt, or whatever, or that's really happening. But either way, you still want that person to be able to work, so that way the kids can get fed, because that's also very important, as well as you getting safe and being safe and staying safe. And this person who is hurting you also needs to get some help as well, and understand the base of why they do what they do. So anyway, it made me think, and I don't know exactly what Urban Meyer knew, but he did contradict himself. Reading an article here from LarryBrownSports.com. The article is dated August 1st, 2018. Report: Urban Meyer lied about knowing of domestic violence incident with coach. While that is not an arrestable offense, he's not going to go to jail for that, or prison or anything like that. That does put light on what he said he knew and what he said he didn't know. It says here, Urban Meyer fired the longest tenured member of his coaching staff last week after he was made aware of a 2015 domestic violence arrest he claimed he previously had no knowledge of, but a bombshell report indicates the Ohio State coach was lying. College football reporter Brett McMurphy conducted an interview with Courtney Smith. Oh, that's her name, Courtney, not Cindy, the ex-wife of former Ohio State assistant coach Zach Smith, and learned that Courtney exchanged text messages with the wives of other Buckeyes assistants and told them about Zach abusing her. One of the women she discussed the incidents with was Meyer's wife, Shelley, and text messages show that Shelley informed Courtney she was going to speak with Urban about the situation. A 2015 text message exchange between Shelley Meyer and Courtney Smith shows that Shelley was concerned for Smith's safety. So the issue people are having with Urban Meyer is that, did he know? And if he did know, why didn't he do anything about it? The other side of that, too, is it his job, quote unquote, to do anything about what an assistant coach is doing? If he told, which is going to bring up Joe Paterno stuff, if he told the higher-ups and they did nothing about it, what more responsibility does he have? I would say, as a prominent figurehead, not only in the school, but in the state, and also as far as college athletics go, if you're the leader, which you definitely are, and you've got, a national championship or 2 or 3 or whatever under your belt during your tenure as coaching in college, I think a lot of pressure is going to fall on you to do the right thing, even if it means exposing someone who's been on your staff. And apparently Zach Smith's father, uncle, or grandfather, or something like that, was Urban Meyer's mentor. So in a way, I guess, nepotism, or protecting, a family name, or a mentor, or a friend, whatever you want to call it at this point, it gets kind of muddied, but whatever you want to call it, seemingly took precedent over what's right. And there also falls this other thing, which sounds kind of bad, but bear with me a second. If a crime is happening to you, it is on you to respond to it. If you have the energy, ability, etc., to tell other people, then that means you could have also told the authorities yourself. But that also means, what about the calls that she made to the police already, or someone made to the police, the local authorities, regarding the abuse? And if they did nothing, and the school did nothing, and Urban did nothing, to me, that reveals people's true values, right? True values, just like I said in the last segment, are not just stated. It's also how you handle things publicly, personally, privately, what you say, what you do. Those are your values, because that's what people are going to see, that's what people are going to hear. So no matter what you say your values are, how you express that is what ends up in people's heads. So in this, if Urban is really against, domestic violence, and, maybe let's say he belonged to an organization against it and all this kind of stuff, but then this comes up, it's like, well, is that really a value of yours? Is, marital harmony as far as no violence, or is appeasing the public or appeasing a friend or a mentor, etc., whatever you want to call it? Like I said, it gets kind of muddy because I don't know exactly what it is, but is that more important than this lady's safety? And if that's more important, then that's your value over her safety. I can't say that would happen to all women, but what if it was his sister? Okay? What if it was his sister and his brother-in-law was his assistant coach? Would he have handled it the same way? And if the answer is no, obviously the answer would probably be no. I would hope the answer would be no. That tells you now you're kind of picking and choosing who you would defend in situations like this. What are your values? What are your real, true values? I think that's being exposed here. Because while you don't have the power to arrest Zach Smith, you have a lot of power. You could have you could have fired him after you first found out about this stuff. And the second incident, and the third incident. You're like, come on, you're gonna tell me your wife didn't tell you stuff? I mean, she doesn't have to, because she's not a paid employee of the school or anything like that, or of your staff. But come on, am I really supposed to believe that? It just becomes this like with the Philadelphia 76ers GM and his wife tweeting all those things, quote unquote, his wife. Come on, really? I mean, I'm not going to say a woman doesn't have an opinion on sports. I don't know what his wife's her involvement in sports was, or in the team so much. Did she really care that much about the team, or was she really just listening to everything that he was doing and then tweeting about it? I kind of think that was maybe something that, I don't have any proof of this because I don't know, but I think sometimes people are lying to you because they don't want to be in more trouble than they should be, or what they feel they should be. So instead, he blames it on his wife because she can't be in trouble. She's not the one who has the state job or the $1 million job working for a $1 billion company. You get what I'm saying? You're protecting your image. But by protecting your image, you end up making your spouse look bad. That's kind of bad in that GM situation with the 76ers. Will he get a job again? I don't even know if he has a job again, but do I think he'll get a job again? Probably, because that's what happens. People kind of don't care after a while about what's going on, and they find other ways to look past it. So in this situation, I think someone is praising or worshiping public perception. And I think that is what ends up overriding what our other values are. Once you start trying to appease the public, keep everything above board, at least make it look like everything's above board, you're not doing anything wrong, that's where it gets muddy. And if that is what is important to you, you're not somebody I'm going to want to hire in the future, because I'm going to have to answer for your transgressions or your poor handling of a situation that really should not have been handled the way it was. I think once you find out about a second and third thing, you just say, hey, you know what, dude, we gotta cut ties. We gotta cut ties. And some people will say, well, why did he keep him on for so long? Does he know something about Urban Meyer or things that Urban Meyer has done, and doesn't want to, Urban Meyer maybe didn't want to have people find out and have Zach get mad and be like, hey, if you fire me, I'm going to tell the world what you did in 2000 and whatever, or 1990 whatever, right? Sometimes that happens. People are kept on because, well, you have a secret against me, so I have to employ you even though you're not doing a good job, or I don't like you, or whatever. Is that the case here? I don't know. It would be interesting to find out when all this kind of unravels at some point, but I think we're all probably going to eventually die and not know exactly what was really going on and why he was on the team for so long and with the staff for so long, and why Urban kept him on for so long. It just makes you wonder, But to me, it just reveals what people's true values are. They are not in people. They are in themselves and their public image. Next topic. Draft day. Johnny Manziel. 5 years later, how am I the man still? Ooh, go ahead, Drake. Drake's doing a better job at rapping about Johnny Manziel than Johnny Manziel is doing a good job at being himself. Yikes. And that song was like 4 years old. Johnny freaking Manziel. That is Johnny Manziel's middle name as far as I am concerned now. Johnny Manziel, who in 2013, as a redshirt sophomore, was the Heisman Trophy winner, playing 13 games, completed 69.9% of his passes, threw for 4,114 yards, 9.6 yards per attempt, 10 yards per average, or 10-yard average per attempt, 37 touchdowns, 13 TDs, 172.9 rating, and he ran for 9 touchdowns on 759 yards, 5.3 yards a carry. So, not a bad redshirt sophomore year, and what a great time to come out and go pro after a Heisman Trophy. There are only currently, 12 or 13 players in the NFL Hall of Fame that have won the Heisman Trophy. Guys like Paul Hornig, Tim Brown, Barry Sanders, guys like that are in the Hall of Fame. And there will be other guys as well that will eventually get in that were also Heisman Trophy winners. But Johnny Manziel is definitely not one of those guys who will end up in the NFL Hall of Fame. When he was drafted by Cleveland, and I knew somebody was going to pick him because he was a Heisman Trophy winner, so of course someone's going to pick him, right? His rookie season, he started 2 games, played 5, 0 for 2, completed 51.4% of his passes, 2 picks, ran the ball, let's see what his stats here were. Rushing the ball, 3.2 yards a carry. NFL's a different game. You got linebackers who run 4.5s. So, good freaking luck, right? Second year in the NFL, numbers a little bit better because he played more. He played 10 games and started 6 of them, 2-4 record. Completed 57.8% of his passes, 1,500 passing yards, 7 touchdowns, 5 picks. That's not a good ratio. Let me see. What did he rush for? He rushed for 230 rushing yards, 6.2 yards a carry on 37 attempts and 0 touchdowns. So, wasn't really making it. Had some issues. I think he had a camp he went to for Peyton Manning where he was going to be a coach or just a superstar that was there. And I guess got too drunk one night the night before and didn't show up or showed up late. Got sent home. Preseason flipping off people on the sidelines. I think there was even a domestic violence situation with a girlfriend at the time. Drunk stuff, party stuff, just did not seem like he cared enough about his football career as much as he did his party life. And I'll tell you, he was probably, 20 years old? Probably. 20, maybe 21. Well, that's the other thing, too. I remember there was a picture that showed him holding a bottle of alcohol in a club, and he was not 21 yet. And so it makes, the club look bad. Like, okay, you were here and you were underage. You're holding a bottle of alcohol. You're underage. Pictures are taken. You're underage. It just looks bad. It's what every 20 and 21-year-old in America does. Shoot, I was in bars when I was not 21 yet. I had another person's ID, and I was using it, and I had fun. And then when I finally turned 21, I remember telling the bouncer, I was like, hey, by the way, I just turned 21, and now I can finally be here. And it was kind of funny. But it's what every 20, 21-year-old does. I shouldn't say every as in every, but a lot, right? It's typical. It's not going to surprise you when you hear about it. But when you're an NFL quarterback, you're expected to have a different level of character, right? We've kind of talked about character pretty much through this entire show, right? LeBron's character, Trump's character, Jordan's character, Michael Jordan's character, Urban Meyer, Zach Smith, Courtney Smith, and now Johnny Manziel. Because the numbers that I read to you, not from his rookie year, because, I mean, you barely played, and you're the number one draft pick, first round draft pick with the Cleveland Browns. God, they suck. Who the hell is the GM? They need to be fired. My God. Anyway, sorry. But when it comes to the second year, I don't think it was his stats that got him removed from the team, released, whatever. I think it was just his off-the-field issues. Because now he's not even in the NFL anymore. The stats I gave you from 2014 and 2015, this is now 2018. It's just 3 years later. The season's going to start in about a month, and he is not in the NFL. And you say, well, where is he, KJ? Where's Johnny Manziel? I'll tell you where Johnny Manziel is. He's in the CFL. He's in the CFL playing for the somebody Tiger Cats. I don't even know what the hell. Was he on the Alouettes a minute ago? I'm not really sure. Oh, the Montreal Alouettes was what he was on. And now he's playing for the something Tiger Cats. I don't even know the name of the team. Well, Hamilton. Okay, Hamilton Tiger Cats. Okay, we're going to take a look at some information here. We're going to take a look at the stats Johnny Manziel had, which has nothing to do with his character. And this is a different game. I will give you that. I will start off and say the CFL is a different game because they play with a 110-yard field, I believe. So you're not getting, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not the same game as the NFL. I'm sure it's probably also a little bit slower. So you have that as well. But I will tell you this. Johnny Manziel is not doing well. In an August 3rd game versus the Tiger Cats. Oh, he's not on the Tiger Cats. He's on the Montreal Alouettes. Oh, I get it. Let's take a look here. Johnny Manziel threw for 104 yards on 20 attempts, completing 11 passes. This is a former Heisman Trophy winner. 0 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He's also like 5'10". He's not very tall, but he's also not very good. Doug Flutie was not very tall. He was also not very good, but you know what? He wasn't throwing 4 picks, and he wasn't doing blow and drinking in clubs underage and all that kind of stuff. Doug Flutie was, for being short, he was still just the man. I mean, ask Rob Johnson. I think he beat out Rob Johnson for a spot on the Bills. Or maybe it was Rob who beat out Doug, I forget. But they were definitely battling. And when you're 5'7" versus, or whatever, however tall Doug Flutie was, versus Rob Johnson who was 6'5", like that tells you there's something going on here, with this short guy who can't see over the lineman, but is able to do what he needs to do to even compete against guys who were, let me see, 5. If he was 5'7", 10 inches taller. Good God, that's really tall. I'm telling you, Johnny Manziel, just because he's short doesn't mean he can't succeed, but it's just his level, his ability. He's not very good. I remember looking at one of the games that he had that Heisman Trophy year. And yeah, there was the hype and everything, and I watched maybe a full game or maybe a half or something like that, and I thought to myself, I remember Facebooking about it on my old account and saying, this guy's not very accurate, and he's very erratic. Runs around a lot, dumping off passes here and there. Yeah, he's completing stuff. But to me, I look at it as, sure, you're doing great in college. That's great. Everybody wants to do great when they're in the college game. But how is that going to transfer over to the pro game? Because isn't that everyone's goal if you're going to play college sports that you want to play pros? Football, baseball, basketball, whatever it is. Don't you want to play pro? Can your game translate to the pros? And Johnny's did not. Not only that, I think it could have if he would have worked. I think if he would have stayed another year or two, I mean, obviously he's not going to get taller, but I think if he would have stayed a year or two, they could have worked on that stuff. They could have worked on his footwork. I think he was under Kevin Sumlin, who I think is still there, and I think he's a pretty good coach. So I think they could have worked on that stuff, and Manziel could have become a better quarterback. May have even won a Heisman again. Who knows? You know, he could have come out in 2017. This could have been his second year. So who knows what we could have had, but he made the decision that he did and went out early and was also not very mature off the field. So it's his off-the-field character that got in the way, I think, of him being in the NFL, and now we have his CFL career to look at. And then can he end up doing well? Sure, it was the first game he had for the team. I think he'd only been there a few days, so, you know, anything could change, people can grow, and all of that stuff. But history is what it is. History is a great determining factor of how somebody is going to behave, how someone's going to be. Can people change? Absolutely. I would be wrong to say people cannot change. I think people typically don't change, and they are who they are, and they either have to learn to accept it, or we have to learn to accept them for who they are and just leave it at that. I got a neighbor who is finally sober for the first time in 30 years. It took people who lived with him, knew him, love him, and know him 30 years to finally see him sober from alcohol. Maybe drugs too, not sure, but 30 years. He didn't change for 30 years. It took 30 years for him to change. And I'm not saying that's a negative thing as far as like hating on him, but I'm saying just to kind of feed my point, people typically aren't going to change. Or it's going to take them a long time to get to the point where they realize, hey, I got to do something different because this is not working. So hopefully at some point Johnny Manziel can change and have a successful career. I never wanted to say anyone should have no success unless it's the president and he's stupid. But regarding sports, even if you're a jerk, even if it was O.J. Simpson we're talking about, like, him personally has nothing to do with him professionally, right? Maybe some people would say yes. I beg to differ, but that's just a differing of opinions. Not a big deal for something so small. So, do I wish him success? Sure. Do I think he will be successful? No. I don't think his game translates well to the NFL, and we see, I mean, like I said, he's only been with the team like a week or so, week and a half. You know, he wasn't there for preseason and training camp and all that stuff, so, or if they even have that stuff in the CFL. So there's time, there's a chance for us to see him do something different than what he's done. But history tells me it's just going to be the same thing, just in a different league. And the Heisman Trophy picking ideology that has existed in the NFL for so many years might end up getting done away with. Charles Woodson just recently retired, so he's not in the NFL anymore. He was a Heisman Trophy winner in 97. Carson Palmer just recently retired. He was a Heisman Trophy winner in 2002. He might be the only USC quarterback to ever go to the Hall of Fame. I don't think he will. I don't think he'll get in like first ballot. He might be one of those, legacy guys or whatever down the line that eventually gets in because he had a good enough career and he was solid. But then again, so was Drew Bledsoe, Benny Testaverde, guys like that. So hell, if you let Carson Palmer in, there's some other people you probably need to let in too. Sam Bradford's still in the NFL. Mark Ingram Jr. still is. Cam Newton, of course, playing for the Panthers. RG3, Manziel, we just discussed. He was a 2012 winner. Jameis Winston is in the NFL still for the Buccaneers. He's immature. Marcus Mariota playing for the Titans. That's my second favorite team. Derrick Henry playing, I don't even know who he's playing for anymore. Wait, my bad. I was confusing Derrick Henry for DeMarco Murray. But anyway, Derrick Henry still playing for the Tennessee Titans. That's pretty cool to get two Heisman Trophy winners back-to-back. Lamar Jackson currently plays for the Baltimore Ravens, was just drafted, as Baker Mayfield was also drafted by the Cleveland Browns. Hey, guess what, Cleveland? You've got Johnny Manziel, number 2. I don't think he's going to be very good, but it is what it is. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I think 9 current former Heisman Trophy winners currently in the NFL. we could have had 10, but Johnny's in the CFL. Do I think he'll get back in? I think he'd really have to change his game in order to get in. But it makes me realize that this picking of the Heisman Trophy winner because they're the Heisman Trophy winner and they're so great, and you're going to sell a lot of jerseys, you're going to sell seats, of course, but you're not going to win because a lot of these guys are not very good in the NFL. You know, we think of Barry Sanders and Tim Brown and guys like that and think, yep, they were amazing. Eddie George did a great job. Desmond Howard did a great job. Charlie Ward, really funny. He played for the Knicks instead of going to the NFL. Testaverde, Heisman Trophy winner. Doug Flutie, like I said, he was Heisman Trophy winner. Herschel Walker, Marcus Allen, Earl Campbell, etc., Tony Dorsett. Some of these guys, you know, Hall of Famers and all that stuff. But there's not a lot. Not everyone's game translates to the NFL. And I think the Cleveland Browns are really going to have to start looking at that before they start drafting the next Heisman Trophy winner. Next topic. The 2018 NFL Hall of Fame. The game was on last Thursday. I watched it with a buddy of mine. Shout out to Brett. We had a good time hanging out watching Lamar Jackson do his thing. Not very great, but first preseason game, first little bit of action in the NFL. Not going to hold it over his head forever and say, oh, look, he sucked in preseason. No one cares. It's brand new. He's just barely got there. He's okay. He'll be okay. But the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, that is the one thing I look forward to in the NFL every year. That, the playoffs, and the Super Bowl more than anything. Matter of fact, yeah, those are the three things. More than, and I love the Pro Bowl, but let's keep it real. I'm not watching that crap anymore. It's bad. But this year's class of 2018, this NFL Hall of Fame class of 2018, Jerry Kramer, former guard of the Green Bay Packers. Randy Moss, wide receiver for the Vikings and Raiders and Patriots and like 17 teams. Ray Lewis, middle linebacker, murderer for the Baltimore Ravens. Brian Urlacher, continuing that middle linebacker Hall of Fame class of linebackers for the Chicago Bears. Bobby Beathard, GM, I think, of the Chargers and some other teams. Brian Dawkins, free safety that played for the Eagles and I think eventually the Broncos. And also Robert Brazile, who I don't know who he played for. I think it was the Oilers or Titans or somebody. Oh, Houston Oilers. Yeah, that's what it was. Okay, got it. So the biggest takeaways. Oh, and I forgot the guy who does not like to be forgotten. I actually skipped over him on purpose because I was going to say him last because I want to talk about him first individually, even though I cannot stand this guy. He was a good player. Obviously, he's a Hall of Fame career. Took 2 or 3 years after after he was eligible. He did not get in first ballot, but I have to laugh because ever since Jerry Rice, I still haven't said this player's name yet, but you know who I'm going to get to, the player, right? When Jerry Rice left San Francisco, this player, in Jerry Rice's last game in San Francisco, this player had like 21 catches and broke the individual season or individual game record for catches in a game. And it was all about him. Everything was all about him. There was actually a play, I think, the season or a couple seasons before where he had dropped a pass in the end zone. Still haven't said his name yet. Dropped a pass in the end zone in a game. Steve Young went back to him later in the game and threw a touchdown to him, and he caught it in the end zone and was just in tears because he knew, you know, like this is pretty huge. It's kind of sad because this person to me has been really insecure, and we all have our things that we got to work through, but this person has been so insecure that it takes away from the ability that they had. Because you don't talk about the games that this person had, and other than the 21 catch thing, you don't talk about those as much as you talk about the touchdown celebrations. Notice I still haven't said his name yet. Touchdown celebrations, the interviews, whether in his driveway or with sunglasses on, talking about Tony Romo. That's my teammate. That's my quarterback. That's not fair. You know, all these different things. You look at all these other things rather than just who he was as a player. And he was a great player. But he was so insecure that not getting in the first try, the first year eligibility, made him so upset. And he tried to play it off and say he was not upset. Made him so upset that he decided to not go to Canton to celebrate his Hall of Fame induction, but go to the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga, where he went to school. Terrell Owens. Oh, God, I finally said his name. I have to go throw up now. Terrell Owens, oh, I said it again. Crap. Is so insecure that, and you have every right to do whatever you want with your career post and after and all this kind of stuff. But, dude, you are so insecure and potentially selfish and needing so much attention that even in your retirement, you're still drawing attention to yourself. Why? Why do you need us to like you so much? I don't understand. I'm not his therapist. I'm not trying to be his therapist. I'm not going to ever try to be his therapist. But why do you need everyone's love so much? Why? Oh, my goodness. I mean, even the comment that he had after the Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles. He had broken his leg earlier in the year. I don't know how severe, but, I mean, a broken leg is a broken leg. Regardless, I'm sure it hurt. But he came back and was ready for the Super Bowl when the Eagles played the Patriots. And in the final drive, and T.O. probably, if they would have won that game, T.O. should have been the MVP. Matter of fact, there were no other stats I remember from that entire game that stood out to me more than T.O.'s. I think he had like 150 yards catch receiving. So he had a hell of a game, and coming off of a broken leg, that's to be revered. But what did he say? I don't even know if he was still in Philly when he said it. But he said, I wasn't the one throwing up in the huddle. You don't need to throw your quarterback under the bus like that. It just... Come on, dude. You don't need to do that. You just don't. But that's who he is, and his character is shitty. And I think because his character was so shitty, it kept him out of the Hall of Fame. And when he did his speech in University of Tennessee, Chattanooga, he tried to open up and say, this isn't about me not getting in right away. This is about the writers not being true to the Hall of Fame standards. You know, so the standards are really just about play, not about character, right? If that were the case, then O.J. Simpson wouldn't be in anymore. Lawrence Taylor wouldn't be anymore, registered sex offender, and even an underage girl at that point. So there's some guys with some stuff, you know, who are in the Hall of Fame for the way that they played, even though their character ain't shit, you know, or when they played, it wasn't shit. Michael Irvin got in trouble, you know, cocaine during his career, weed during his career, and I think even after his career got fired from ESPN because there was weed in his car and it was his friend's weed or whatever it was. But still, it's like, well, dude, this weed keeps following you everywhere you go, so we can't have that. So with T.O., is he right? Yeah, it's not necessarily fully about play on the field, because I think if that was the case, the impact Charles Haley had, he would have gotten in a lot sooner. Charles Haley's been retired since the mid-'90s, maybe? No, probably I think the late 90s, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not 100% sure, but I think like the late 90s, early 2000s. But he didn't get in until like 3 or 4 years ago. So it took him a while, too. He only had like 100 or so sacks, but he was just if you could also factor in quarterback pressures as an actual stat, like a regular stat that for everyone, Charles Haley would have been in a long time ago. Or assisted sacks, or, you know, because I pressured the quarterback to run into you, you know, I should get a credited sack as well, or half a sack or something like that. Charles Haley was that much of a monster. But because we find out is bipolar and had his off-the-field issues with people and maybe even on-the-field issues as well, that is, I think, what kept him out of the Hall of Fame. I mean, had he had like 150 or 160 sacks, I'm sure that would have helped. But the fact that he was kind of, you know, as many, I'm sure, described, was kind of a head case. That's what kept him out of the Hall of Fame, I believe, for so long. And so is T.O. right? Sure. But the other thing T.O. doesn't really seem to look at was just that, well, when you're a jerk, people really don't care that much about you. Lawrence Taylor wasn't a jerk while he was playing. OJ wasn't a jerk while he was playing. These guys did what they did after their career was over. Michael Irvin, it wasn't a jerk thing to people. It was a drug thing, right? It was cocaine and marijuana and stuff like that. I think there were hookers too. My God, being a Cowboy and coming from the University of Miami, whoo! Boy, you talk about being famous. So T.O. tried to make it sound like it wasn't about that, but that was the first thing that he mentioned. And so, then what is it? So you're saying you should have gotten in sooner? You should have gotten in late? Like, what is it? What is it you want? You got into the Hall of Fame. Yeah, but I should have been in sooner. Okay, well, you didn't get in sooner. There were guys, Chris Carter didn't get in right away. I don't think Michael Irvin or Tim Brown did either. Jerry Rice might be the only one who got in right away, first ballot, as far as wide receivers. I don't think Randy Moss got in right away either. I could be wrong, but I don't think he did. So it's like, what makes you so extra damn special? It's not that he's extra special. It's just that he really just wants everyone's approval. He was on the Colin Cowherd show on Fox Sports and was trying to... he was defending himself, and I kind of defended him too. He had some good points. But the other thing is, too, he's trying to make a comeback, and good luck to you. If you can make it in the CFL, then by all means, good luck to you. I don't wish anyone, like I said, with Johnny Manziel, I don't wish anyone to not have success. But I don't think at 44 years old you're going to have success in the CFL. I just don't see that as a feasible option for anything. So, is he a Hall of Famer now? Yes. Is he still kind of just a, not really conceited, just really insecure, who comes off like a jerk? Yes. Yes, he is. And I've spent far too much time talking about this dude when I should have been talking about Randy Moss. Because Randy Moss, who's now a Hall of Famer, had, to me, the most memorable part of his ensemble, or anyone's ensemble I've ever seen. And I think it was awesome. And it's a big shout out to everything that Sean King is standing up for, and Black Lives Matter as a I don't even want to say it's political, but as a social activist group. I love it. Randy Moss had a tie on. And it actually went very well with his outfit. It didn't stand out too much. It wasn't like bright and blinking and, trying to call attention to it per se, but it did, because it was a tie that has names like Tamir Rice, Eric Garner, Freddie Gray, Walter Scott, Sandra Bland, Alton Sterling, Michael Brown, people who were, as we believe, unjustly killed by police, and they were also unarmed. And there's so much that goes on in the United States regarding black people and being unarmed and getting killed, that I'm glad that Randy is not only aware of that, but also brought it to the attention of everyone in front of him last week. I love that he did that. I wish more players would do that. I know last year LaDainian Tomlinson said something about that he's black and white, and was kind of almost proud of the fact that his ancestors were, kidnapped and raped, and he's also a Tomlinson, and people loved it and ate it up. And I'm like, but your family was kidnapped, and that's how you became a Tomlinson, so don't overlook that too. I understand you are who you are now, but just understand who you've been, or where you come from, so to speak. There was a player last year too, an older cat, who just got into the Hall of Fame. It wasn't Bullet Bob Hayes. I forget who it was. It's a tall dude. Was it Drew Pearson? Tony Hill? It was someone from the Cowboys, an older guy. But he was speaking about Black Lives Matter and just black issues in America as well. And I love that players are doing that now, because typically I don't think they really have on the NFL Hall of Fame platform, which I understand, because it's really about your career. But when your career is over, what's your legacy? Is it just football? Which isn't bad. It's not bad. But what else? What else is it that you want to be known for? And for Randy to do that, that's a great visual. And I love that he did that. And I give him major props. Also, Brian Dawkins had apparently an amazing speech. I have not seen the speech, because I'm not in the mood to be inspired just yet. I don't feel like I need that per se. But I heard it was an amazing speech. Someone said if they ever die, whenever they die, they want Brian Dawkins to give their eulogy or something like that. I thought that was kind of funny. But it also speaks to the power that Brian Dawkins had as a speaker. And I kind of saw that too when he would lead teammates in prayer, not even just teammates, but opposing players as well after games, So after games, they greet each other in the middle of the field and say, hey, good game, let's chat, yada, 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 all that stuff. But then he would get people, I think, at the center of the field, and they would pray together in a circle, and I love that. Because it's not so much trying to put religion on display or anything or throw it in your face for people who are atheists or not religious or whatever, but it just, to me, it shows his leadership, and that people who played with him, played against him, that it's like, hey, game's over, let's get back to God, let's get back to being together, let's get back to praying and praising God. And I love that he did that as well during his time of playing. But that's one of the speeches I want to see, and I'm sure I will. And the speech I'm looking least forward to seeing, I saw the Terrell Owens one, and it was just, I saw like 5 or 10 minutes of it, and it was just inarticulate, and just, it was red, it was, oh God, why are you reading so much? Stop reading so much. Just talk to us. I don't know, whatever. But the Ray Lewis one, legend has it, he's still giving his speech. Ray Lewis got up there for 30 minutes or more, 35 minutes. I guess he closed out the entire Hall of Fame. And if you want to go on NFL, on the NFL page on YouTube, you can do that and go see all these different speeches. But man, this guy Ray Lewis is so into himself. Ever since, I wouldn't even say ever since he retired. I think after he beat that murder charge, that is maybe what sent him over the top as far as, oh, sweet, I'm untouchable. Like Tupac after beating that murder charge, or Snoop's, actually it was after Snoop's murder charge, and Tupac getting on death row. It was just like, dude, you're different now. You really feel like you're untouchable. I saw this article today that referred to Ray Lewis saying something about crime went down when he played for the Baltimore Ravens. I don't know if he meant it as like, look, I saved the city or anything like that, but why even bring that up? I don't know. I don't even know the context, but just the way it comes across, just hearing it and just kind of seeing Ray's character over the years, you're giving yourself way too much credit for, quote-unquote, saving a city, so to speak. And not a big fan of Ray. I mean, he was a great player, once again, would never take away his ability on the field and say, oh, he wasn't very good. That would be a lie. That would be a lie. But I will say that he is he's really into himself. Really into himself. I was going to say a blowhard or a hothead, but that's not what I meant. But yeah, he's really into himself, and it's just a bad look. It's a bad look. Character, man. It's all about character. Next topic. The last topic I'm going to get to also is about the NFL and guys who have not signed or re-signed contracts or shown up to training camp or other things. Fans are going to be mad. Okay, I have a buddy of mine who's a Rams fan. He's mad at Aaron Donald for not showing up. And I get it. You're a fan of the team. You want the player to show up so that way they can help your team succeed. I get it. I don't blame you. I'm a fan of the Raiders. Khalil Mack has not shown up. He wants a new contract. You know what? I don't blame him. I'd want one too if I've outplayed my rookie contract. I've outplayed it. People who are not nearly as good as I am are getting paid more. We have salary cap space. Well then, make me happy if you want me to continue playing at a high level for this team. Because if you do not, I'm going to hold out. I'm going to eventually sign with somebody else, get my money. Because at the end of the day, this is a job. This is a career. You're going to have it for, at the most, 15 years. But typically guys are only playing for, what's the average, 3 to 4 years, something like that. Non-quarterbacks, 3 to 4 years. So when they don't sign contracts or don't show up to training camp because they want new money, it's a business decision. It's not an anti-team. It's not an anti this person or that person. It's a business decision. They have to make their money. And people could say, oh, you already make $4 million a year. That's enough. how can you tell someone what they make is enough? Here's the thing. We all have jobs, right? If I'm making $25 an hour and I know that the person who I work with does less work than I do, is not a hard worker, is not very good at their job, and hasn't been there as long as as I've been there. Maybe I've been there 6 years, and we make the same, but they make a little bit more than I do. I'm going to have an issue with that. I'm absolutely going to have an issue with that, and so would you, right? If you know people work for other companies and they're making, double what you make, you're like, whoa, wait a second. We're clearing profits every year, and I'm helping make these profits, and I'm not reaping the benefits of that. It doesn't have to be double what I'm making now, but making what I've been making for 3 or 4 years ain't working either. So it becomes a business decision to say, well, am I just going to suck it up and do nothing, or am I going to stand up for myself and try to make some more money? Because I'm already kicking ass anyway. So that's what's happening around the league, is that players who aren't as good as Aaron Donald or Khalil Mack are making more money, and in a sense forcing these guys to hold out and say, you know what, since these guys are making more money and they're not nearly as good as I am, I'm going to hold out until you guys pay me more, because you have salary cap space. You don't have to give me the whole pot, but you got to give me something, because I'm putting asses in seats, I'm selling jerseys. That means I'm selling parking. That means I'm selling concessions. You gotta hook me up. You gotta hook me up if you want to keep me. Because if you don't keep me, I end up leaving. And when I leave, you get nothing. And if you get nothing, that's your own fault, because you could have paid me $8 million more, and you could have had $75 worth of put out because of me being here. Me being here is going to put the team in the playoffs. And, you get more money in the playoffs. And the further you get in the playoffs, the more fan support you're going to get. The more jerseys are going to be sold. The more TV time you're going to have. The more there's more money coming because you gave me $8 million more and you made $100 million more because of the $8 million, because of my input. Give me some kickback. I don't blame players for that. Would never tell someone, hey, you've made enough money. Because you know what we don't do? We don't tell billionaires that they've made enough money. Not per se. Is anyone mad at Jeff Bezos? Not really. People still shop it on Amazon. Oh, Jeff has made enough money. I just saw a video the other day of some gal who's apparently living in her car, works for Amazon, living in her car in Amazon's parking lot. I don't remember what city it was in or what state, but if that's true, that's interesting, because this dude has like $100-something billion of net worth. So let's say this gal, I don't know what state, like I said, I don't know what state or city it was in, but let's say she makes $15 an hour, which really isn't a whole lot. $15 an hour is less than $40,000 a year. $40,000 a year is like $19.38. Remember when I first made $40,000 a year, I think I averaged it out. I'm like, okay, I make $19.38 an hour. It is what it is. Cool. So when you're making $15 an hour, that's really nothing, especially to someone who has $100+ billion, almost $200 billion, richest man in the world. Richest person in the world. Almost $200 billion. Jeez, oh, Pizzo. But then you pay people and they have to live, I don't know what her monthly expenses are. I don't know if she's overspending. Who knows? I kind of doubt it, though, because I've heard a lot of different things from people who've worked at Amazon and don't make a lot of money. You hear that about Walmarts. You hear that about big companies who have a lot of employees. I mean, you can't pay everyone $80,000 a year. I get it. But there's something more that people can do. McDonald's, there's just more that companies can do to pay people. And so why are we yelling at millionaires, employees like you and I? Why are we yelling at them to do what we want them to do when the billionaires are the ones who are really not doing what we want them to do? Like, if you really want that player there, yell at the billionaire. Be like, dude, pay him. Pay him. He's good enough. Or do you want this to happen like the Dallas Cowboys in 1993? After a Super Bowl championship, Emmitt Smith, who got drafted in 1990, played 91, played 92, boom, 90, 91, 92. That's 3 years. Rookie contract still. I don't remember how much he was making, but he was still making his rookie contract money. Held out for 2 games. You know what happened to the Cowboys that year? After a Super Bowl, went 0-2. Derek Lassick couldn't hold the weight. Couldn't do it. Because he's not Emmitt Smith. Same offensive line. It was a great offensive line, but if it was so great, which it was, then why couldn't Derek Elastic get it done? He couldn't get it done. So it tells you Emmitt Smith is special. So if Khalil Mack and Aaron Donald end up holding out and the teams end up going 0-2, you might see some cha-ching rolling down the hill. Khalil Mack, here's $15 million a year. Aaron Donald, here's $20 million a year. Whatever it is, I don't know what the budgets are and how much cap space there is, but it's a business decision. And when you are the billionaire owner of the team and you're making people make a decision about whether they want to play for you in the future, that's a bad idea. I mean, you don't want to just give everyone money every time that they ask for more money because it's a bad idea. But there are certain people who I think garner that redoing of the contract. And I would almost say, it's going to go up in 4 or 5 years anyway, so you may as well kind of overpay them at some point, a little bit, for a while, because you're still going to get your value because you're making hella money off of them anyway. I know, I've never been a CEO, I don't own a business, I don't own an NFL team, except for in the game of Madden football. I'm not an NFL owner, but I do see the value in the players and the people. Obviously, the fans want to see their players. I mean, dude, if I bought a Khalil Mack jersey or an Aaron Donald jersey and they never played for the team again, I'd be mad as hell. Like, damn it, you guys could have paid him a little bit extra per year, and now I've wasted money buying a jersey. Not that no one's ever going to not buy a jersey again, but as a fan, I'd be a little pissed. That's why I have do I have a Tim Brown jersey? No, I have a Charles Woodson one that was given to me by a former manager of mine. And the other Raider jerseys I have say my name, because that will never change. So I look at it like this. If you want to succeed as a team owner, sometimes you got to shell out some money. You got to do that in order to keep the players that you want to keep. Richard Sherman, no longer Seattle Seahawk. He was already in the league for 7 years. I didn't realize that much time had gone, but golly, 7 years. That was fast. That was really fast. But they didn't keep him. Now he's gone. Now he's a 49er. I would have liked to keep him. Him and Cam Chancellor and Earl Thomas. Like, I want my Legion of Boom to stay. Brandon Browner, I want these guys to stay. I don't want these guys to leave. Absolutely not. Marshawn Lynch left and retired and then came back and went to the Raiders. I wouldn't have wanted him to leave. Beast mode. Are you kidding me? That run against New Orleans? That's crazy. You let that go? Why? Probably should have given him the ball at the 1 yard line to win that Super Bowl a few years back, huh? Probably should have done that, Pete Carroll. Just saying. But as a billionaire, if you want to make more millions, I mean, you're going to make money anyway. But I would try to keep your best employees. Yes, they have a small window, but I'd try to keep your best employees, not just your quarterbacks, but your best employees. And that's the show. You guys happy with that? Sports, politics, social activism. God, I love it. Oh, yeah, I love it. Future episodes are actually, I have a few things coming down the pipeline that I want to do that I haven't done. I listened to the Double Dropkick podcast. Heath Mulliken and, oh my God, I forgot, Mark Whitman. Whew. I was going to be mad at myself if I forgot who they were. I listened to them. They did some wrestling tournaments where they just kind of pick, singles wrestlers and in their head kind of face them off against each other, put them in different territories, and kind of pick winners every week. They did like several episodes of that. They did a tag team one, I think, a year or two ago. Then they did another one. So I like that idea. And you guys know I watch wrestling. Hulk Hogan, I grew up watching him. He was one of my favorite wrestlers. Terry Bollea is a piece of shit, but Hulk Hogan's an American hero. The Ultimate Warrior, Sting, Ric Flair, Macho Man Randy Savage, the Road Warriors, the Steiners, AJ Styles now. It's just, I love professional wrestling, and I think one thing I want to do is do a tournament like that in my head, because when I play video games, I've been doing this since I was a kid. I was doing, Hulk Hogan against Ric Flair before Ric Flair was ever in WWF. I was playing with my toys, and then when I finally got a chance to have a video game with these players or these wrestlers who did not wrestle for the same company or actually were not in the game, but you could create a player or whatever. That was one of the matches I had to have. Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair, Hogan versus Sting, the Steiners against the Road Warriors, even though that happened before. But, the Steiners against Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard, or the Steiners against Kerry Von Erich and Kevin Von Erich. The British Bulldogs against the Rock and Roll Express, or the Steiners, that would have been a great match. Bulldogs and Steiners, could you imagine? Holy cow. Anyway, so I have some tournaments I want to do. There's some other ideas I have, and I still need to do a relationship podcast. It's been a while. My partner's been out of commission for a little bit. Mooney, but I have some other people who have stated that they want to do a show with me regarding relationship stuff, so be on the lookout for that on the channel. Hopefully I'll have that in the next week or so, and maybe it won't be a female. Maybe I'll have a guy do it with me. That sounds funny. Do a show with me, and we could talk about it and just have different ideas, and I think that would actually be pretty cool. So we'll see what happens, but thank you for joining me on the KJ from OC podcast. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, and I'm in your mama's house, on your mama's couch, in your mama's mouth. You dig? That's what I'm saying. Peace out until next time.